In Philadelphia, we pride ourselves on toughness. But chest-thumping, hard-hitting, in-your-face defense is only part of the game. It's the guys on the other side of the line that score the points. That's why this week's Top 5 focuses on the top 5 offensive players in Eagles history. Coming in at number 5, a man whose last name suited his style of play, Mike Quick.
Mike Quick, probably the best hands I've ever seen of any receiver, bar none.
He was speedy, he was tough, he did whatever it took to make the catch, and Eagle fans loved him because of all those elements.
Anything Ron Jaworski or Randall threw his way, you know it was coming down. And if you just talk about a highlight film guy in terms of one-hand catches, that was Mike Quick.
He didn't care if he went over the middle and had to make a catch, if you wanted to go downfield and make the catch, you can use him in any situation possible, and Mike Quick was always there.
And now he's caught on with the broadcast team. Coming in at number 4, perhaps the most versatile player in Eagles history, 36 West, Brian Westbrook.
I think Brian Westbrook has to be on a top 5 list of anything. The versatility, the ability to catch the ball and run the ball. I think Brian Westbrook makes any list for me in terms of Eagles offensive output, not to mention the fact that you never had to take him off the field.
How many running backs can you think of right now that did all 3? Running, receiving, and in the return game. I can't think of many running backs at all right now that contributed to the return game, which I think is one of the things that really separates Brian Westbrook.
I loved his versatility and the screen. You knew it was coming, you still couldn't stop it. For him to fit the system perfectly, he represented, I think, what Andy Reid wanted to do.
He worked so well in the West Coast offense that in 2007, he led the NFL in yards from scrimmage. Coming in at number 3, the quarterback known simply as Randall.
When your name's the ultimate weapon, yeah, people want to just go ahead and try and stop you, and they couldn't.
I was at that punt game, and I was at the game where he's jumping over Leonard Marshall and juking Carl Banks, and I just remember these things as being terrific, and that was it for me. That was amazing.
As an all-purpose kind of player, combining the passing and the running, boy, I mean, in those late 80 years, I mean, he was the offense. I mean, he really was. I mean, he was the leading rusher on that team 3 years in a row, and you just didn't see that in that era of football. I mean, way back in the day when your quarterback was kind of a tailback, yeah, sometimes those guys would lead the team in rushing, but that was, you know, that was medieval football. I mean, in the modern era of football, for a quarterback to be his team's leading rusher, I mean, that's really rare.
Randall sparked the career of many young quarterbacks who were not only throwing weapons, but running weapons as well, like the next player on our list. Coming in at number 2, the team's all-everything quarterback, Donovan McNabb.
Donovan, I mean, you know, the early Donovan was a joy to watch with the ability to run when he had to run, but also had the cannon arm. I'll never forget the play in Dallas in 2004, 14 seconds, where he buys all kinds of time and hits Freddie Mitchell. To me, that's my favorite. Other than 4th and 26, that's my favorite Donovan play.
Top 5 offensive players of all time for the Eagles. Number 1, you got to go with the best quarterback in Eagles history. It's got to be Donovan McNabb. I mean, he leads the Eagles in every stat that matters as far as the quarterback position is concerned. Touchdowns, completion percentage, whatever it is, Donovan McNabb is at the top of that list. So for me, has to be McNabb.
Not quite. There's still one more spot left.
Wait, if you're going to do a list and not have McNabb number 1 as the best offensive player in Eagles history, I don't know about this list. Who's number 1?
Well, Sean, coming in at number 1, the man who ruled the ground game for the Eagles in the 1940s and won 2 championships with the team, Steve Van Buren.
Steve Van Buren was a guy who was ahead of his time. You look at the record book when he retired, and nobody's really even close. Everybody talks about Jim Brown, rightfully so, but Steve Van Buren should be in that conversation every time.
I certainly can't argue with Steve Van Buren at number 1. I mean, he is, in many ways, the most decorated Eagle of all time, and rightly so. He led the league in rushing 4 times over a 5-year period. He was a workhorse back. He led the league in carries all the time. That was an era where it was really all about running the football. It was a power game and it was played on the ground. And the reason that the Eagles were a dominant team was they had the best runner in football, and it was Van Buren.
So there you have it, your top 5 offensive players of all time. Let us know what you think on Twitter using @EaglesShows, #EaglesTop5.